eventually. Okay. Well, we're going to go ahead and get this kicked off because we are kind of, we are limited on time, but we're super, super duper excited to have you all with us today. I'm Nicole LaRujo with Mighty Citizen, for those who don't know me. There's a lot of folks on here who do. And I'm the client engagement director here, and I live in the DC metro area. I miss seeing all the DC faces, and I really miss being at ASAE Annual live today. So we have a couple of housekeeping things that we want to kind of go over. We're extremely grateful to have you with us. We do have 30 minutes, so we really want to keep this tight to get as many questions asked and answered as we can. If you are not asking a question, we just ask you put it on mute just in case, like Jamie with construction. We want to keep it clear and keep things going. My cat, I'll be muted. But and if you have insight that you want to add to it, let's have a discussion. Unmute yourself and let's ask. Add the feedback, but let's keep it as brief as we can so we can keep, again, the conversation flowing. We are going to be recording these sessions, so everybody consent. Yeah, okay, we're good, okay. And I think that's it. We are going to share these sessions after ASAE Annual, so you'll have them for your record, and we'll send them out to you because y'all registered for these. Now I'm going to have our team do some introductions here so you can get to know them a little bit. Mike, why don't you go first?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. My name is Mike Steckel, and I am the Director of User Experience here at Mighty Citizen. So I tend to help clients with things like user research, information architecture, and usually the discovery process, which is that very first part of the engagement where we try to figure out what we're actually going to achieve. And I would say I love working with associations because you guys are really in the relationship business. And that's just a fun place to be. And in my experience, association people are fun people. So you're also fun to work with.
Even at 7:30 in the morning, Central Time.
Yeah, thank you, Mighty Citizen.
This is quite early.
And I will say Mike's, what I hear most out of Mike's conversations is, that's interesting.
Yeah, you'll probably hear that this morning.
Takes a little tweak. Anyway, Jared, why don't you go next?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jarrett Way. I am the marketing manager here at Mighty Citizen. I could talk all morning about how much I love working with associations and the work that you guys do. But here in this session, I'm here just doing some of the back end stuff, managing a lot of the text. If you have any questions or issues, just let me know in the chat, and I'll turn it over to Rachel so we can get started.
Yeah, I'm Rachel Clemens. I'm the CMO here at Mighty Citizen, and I'm responsible for a lot of speaking and thought leadership and helping associations with kind of their overarching strategies. And I love working with associations for the same reason Mike does. It's the relationship building. It's a community that I definitely want to be as known as Nicole eventually, because Nicole knows everybody. So I'm excited to meet you guys virtually, though I would have loved to have seen you in person in Vegas.
So we're going to kick this off with a couple of questions that we actually received during the registration process. And this one actually came in from Melinda from the Fertilizer Institute. She is not on the call today, but since we are going to do the recording, I want to get her an answer. So her question, and I'm going to direct this one to Mike. What are the top 3 things for a successful membership strategy?
This is a huge question, but it's a really good one. And there's probably a lot of different ways you could answer it. But I think a good sort of 3-pronged strategy would be to really understand your audience. Why are they joining? What do they hope to get out of their relationship with you? And this is really done through research, both qualitative and quantitative research about what they want. One of the great things about working at an association is people move into their profession and it becomes kind of a part of their identity. And you guys have the ability to kind of tap into that identity and kind of hit them right at that relationship point in a way that a lot of other organizations can't. So it's a unique benefit to you. But what that means is you really have an opportunity to understand your audience's motivations and their desires in a deeper way, because you're kind of coming in at the identity level. The second thing I would say would be to really understand your association's value proposition. what is it that you can do for your members? How can you make their lives better? And really think about that. We can make our members better, our lives, the lives of our members better by giving them this and that, and really understand that. And then the third thing would be to express your value proposition in a very consistent and recognizable way across your different channels, from social to email to events, your advertising, so that they see you and they recognize you. And if you've built your value proposition on their needs, it'll resonate with them.
All right, thank you so much, Mike. Is there any other feedback or anything we want to add to that? Nope. Okay, well, I'm going to move on to the next one. So Scott, this was your question. So why don't you go ahead and unmute, because I'll read the question, but you can add to it if you'd like, if there's additional clarification. So and this is for Rachel. I'm thinking Rachel can manage this one. In the wake of the pandemic, are you finding any new best practices for reaching people and getting engagement?
Yeah, Scott, did you have anything you wanted to add to that? It's pretty straightforward, but
I thought it was pretty straightforward. I'll let you start from there, and if it's based upon what you say, I might add a tag on. That's okay.
Yeah, that'd be great. So it was funny. I saw this and I was like, one thing comes to mind really quickly, and that's digital engagement. I mean, everybody's in front of their computers. So one thing we've seen is our digital ads really tick up in terms of engagement on those. So that's Google ads, but also social ads. And I think part of the reason for that is other people are pulling back, right? They're not spending as much on their marketing for budget reasons. And so, but at the same time, everybody's in front of their computers more than they maybe normally would be. So we're definitely seeing our digital ads kick up as far as reaching people. As far as the engagement piece, what comes to mind for me is that really the old practices are still the best practices, meaning like storytelling. So how do we tell the story of what's happening right now, how our members are affected, how their organizations are being impacted, and then also focusing on what you do best. So focusing on the member proposition and your mission, and how what your organization is doing is also affected. So I think of like we have everybody has meetings, right? And we're all going virtual. And so a lot of associations I've seen have asked people that had registered for the meeting beforehand to potentially donate some of that to the foundation or to the organization, and just letting people know how you're being affected, I think ties people into the org a little bit. The kind of this idea of we're in this together is something I've seen that I think is working pretty well.
Are you finding that some of the connectivity then is most beneficial when it's a combination of kind of stewardship and information, kind of checking and seeing how everybody is and things?
Yeah, one thing that's interesting is for those of you that do any fundraising, one thing we saw kind of like in the March, April timeframe is everybody sort of stopped fundraising. And I found that was a time that they actually could have maybe capitalized a little bit more on fundraising efforts, because I don't know about y'all, but I was kind of, anybody that asked me, I was like throwing money at them because I still had a job and I was just thankful and all of that. So I think definitely stewarding that potentially for those of us that have foundations, but then also, yeah, checking in on them, making sure that they see you as a vital portion of like what's happening right now, right? Because there's so much noise. So I think making sure they know you're there for them and that you're still bringing that value. And in fact, you're probably bringing more value right now than you maybe bring just in normal times.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any burning questions that they want to ask? If so, just unmute yourself and let's ask it. If not, we do have some questions here from conversations gone by. All right, Cynthia.
Hey, Nicole, how are you? Good to see you.
I am great. Good to see you.
Quick question about social media and membership. Is anyone using any other channels besides I would say the regular ones, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram? Is anyone using any other channels? I'm thinking TikTok or anything else out there that's, new and hot and everybody's talking about. Just kind of curious about that.
Mighty Citizen team, anybody have any?
I haven't really seen much outside of the list that you're providing. I think we're a long way from associations doing TikTok videos, but who knows? But other than that, I feel like people are kind of, building on what Rachel said, I think we are kind of moving maybe slightly towards our traditional kind of stances in the current time, just because of all the craziness. So I don't think people are reaching out too much from unexpected places. But Rachel, maybe you would.
I haven't seen that either. I feel like most associations would say their audience isn't on TikTok. I guess it depends on, obviously what your mission is. But we have not really been seeing that outside of, kind of the typical platforms. I think most associations too just don't have the time right now because they're kind of doing so much more to go explore new channels. Having said that, if your audience was there, this could be a really great time to be there because again, people are spending so much more time on social outlets.
Yeah.
But you'd have to find one that aligned with your audience.
Right. Is that helpful?
Go ahead, Vernon.
Yes, thank you.
I forgot I was muted. About that. I'm finding that one of the things that is, and one thing about me is that I'm always a positive person. I'm always, let's put the positive spin on it. The glass.
That's not a problem, Vernon.
Okay.
The world needs more of that.
Glass is always half full, never half empty with me. And so with this pandemic that's going on right now, I think one of the biggest challenge for a lot of associations are that a lot of their members are looking at, either not joining or renewing because of the pandemic. And I think that one of the things that is like really, really hitting hard that I know has been very effective for me and my membership, because believe it or not, I am not, and not to brag or anything, I'm not hurting at all in membership right now. I work with a bunch of doctors anyway to begin with, so the pandemic
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not really hurting it. And I think that one of the things that a lot of associations will see that if they have more in the way of digital responses and or just helpful tips on the COVID-19 situation and actually putting it out there to their members, to their past members, to their members that, if their renewal time is coming up, they will see that. I think that a lot of your members will rejoin, because one of the things we want to do in membership is we want to make our association their professional home. This is, their home. This is where, you get, when you're home, you feel comfortable, with everything from your bedroom to your living room to your basement, even though people have work going in their basement right now, but I'm not going to say any name. That was you, James. But that's one of the things that I think that hits really hard, is that if we make this their professional home and if we show them that we are sensitive to their needs of the pandemic and seeing exactly, giving them helpful tips of actually helping their profession to thrive during the pandemic, I think that then, everyone will see their membership just constantly growing. And this, I tag that on to the piece where we were talking about the social media, is that if we put that face first, because everyone has Facebook, everyone is doing, the basic ones that are already there. If we put that avenue out there besides just in our website, I think that will help the membership to continue to grow and flourish.
Yeah, I completely enthusiastically agree with you, Vernon. This is very good. Going back before when I was first talking, people's jobs are a huge part of their identity, of who they are. And an association really has an opportunity right now during this crisis to give meaning to the situation that people are in. And in a way that they will not forget years down the road. It can really help you connect with people at a much deeper level than maybe it would have been 2 years ago. So I think associations really have an opportunity to deepen their relationship given the situation. And I think what you're saying is spot on.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to add here that with you know, associations are such facilitators of networking and connecting like-minded individuals who are in similar professions. And I know all of you, we feel it here with ASAE that we're missing that connectivity. And so any way that the association can facilitate that type of a connection during this time is something that's so valuable, because, you know, we're isolated, we're in our homes, and you know, we're missing these events. And I know Christina and I talked last week about town hall meetings and just giving a place for members to express themselves. And it might not even be you know, something that's pertinent to necessarily your membership, but definitely to your environment and your community, and giving them that opportunity. I mean, how many times do we stand around a coffee pot at ASAE and talk about things that are relevant to us? You know, it's giving it that opportunity to create that community in a trusted space. And I think every association has the ability to foster that type of connection and facilitate it.
Right. People are hungry for that right now. Sorry, Rachel.
I was just going to say, one thing that comes to mind for me, and that I've seen people use at meetings while they're virtual, is the chat. So like setting up Slack chats. And I know a lot of associations have their community, but I'm wondering, I've seen that work really well, where it's kind of immediate, you know, getting that community feedback like through some sort of Slack channel or a chat channel has been interesting, especially during meetings. So that's kind of taken the place, I think, as best we can, of the hallway conversations that so many of us are missing.
Yeah.
We're trying to have one right now.
We are trying to have like a conference room meeting.
Yeah.
It's not a hallway.
If I could even jump in here, Rachel and Mike and Nicole, just I think in that same conversation, Vernon, I think there's also a lot to be said about the way that you all are advocating for your members during this time. And part of that community building has to do with just the simple fact that a lot of your members want and need to be advocated for right now, just because of everything that's going on. Associations are really struggling. I just finished a piece that I'm writing for Mighty Citizen, where I talked to a lot of different associations about their changes in messaging, about what they're seeing. And a lot of them have been surprised at the success of their recruitment and their membership, which is the lifeblood of associations at this time, simply because their members need to have that community, and they need to know that someone is at bat for them, whether that's securing funding, whether that's building the community, you know, on a local level. It really matters, and it makes a difference for all of them. So I absolutely agree.
Now, Jared, I have a question for you, because you mentioned the key word that stuck out with you were saying was, and I totally agree with you on everything that you just spoke of, is advocacy. So what do you tell associations? Because I mean, I have been in this business now for 20 years. Actually, I started out at ASAE. That's where I worked at. And what do you tell associations? Because you have some out there that don't have advocacy. You know, they don't do any lobbying, or even, and it doesn't have to be lobbying to advocacy. It just, they have no type of advocacy for their members. What do you tell them then, you know, when you don't have that tool there to speak up, fight for them, to push it out there, so to speak?
Yeah, and I'll let Mike and Rachel jump in, but I would just say, you know, initially, I think focusing on the value of your organization, I think inherently the value of an association is to advocate for your members. And what that looks like at a time like this, for example, I talked to the American Library Association, and they were talking about how the landscape for public libraries is going to be changed forever probably after this. And, you know, what does that look like in a post-pandemic world, and how do they advocate for their members when, you know, libraries are essential for community building and for getting people back on their feet? That's where people go to get education. They go to have computer literacy. They go there to fill out job applications and engage in their community. What does it look like after all this is over if people aren't physically in a library, and how do they continue on in that industry? And a lot of that is just about floating stories in their organizations about public libraries and other libraries at schools and things like that, universities, to be able to say, you know, this person is struggling, this library is struggling, but this is what they're doing to be able to overcome this, and making sure that everyone that's part of their organization sees that there is innovation coming out of the same industry that they're all a part of. And and being able to just be cognizant of that fact and know that you have to be able to kind of align your values and your mission with what everyone in your organization is dealing with at the time is crucial to be able to exist as an organization and as an association.
I'm going to jump in here because, you know, we're at 8:53 and I wish we had an hour and a half to do this. I know we can talk, we can reconvene at 5 o'clock today. So what Christina has mentioned and what I hear in Jarrett and the story of ALA is the members themselves are struggling. But the question here is, are associations really struggling right now? Christina had mentioned in the chat that, you know, she's here at ASAE annual to actually meet associations that are indeed struggling in a lot of cases. And Christina, I'm going to ask you to unmute and let you clarify this.
I guess my point is, like, I just want a litmus test. Like, trust me, believe me, we all have the same contracts and those hotels all want their money. So I understand that from a financial and, you know, short-term pinch perspective, there's a very, very real risk. You know, my MBA hat doesn't just come off like it's a helmet, it's stuck. I understand. But I guess my point or my challenge in the conversation is just, to the extent, you know, there's such opportunity, you know, so, you know, wrapping this up a little bit, one of the things that my team and I have done is let the reins loosen a little on how we always feel as if we must push expert content to our members. It has to be fully curated, fully formed, and the experts have spoken. But what we're finding is, like, things like virtual town halls where we just open up a room and let them get together. They crowdsource the content they need, and then the staff listens, and we take that opportunity and we go down the path of, okay, we heard this 4 times in the last 3 weeks, so let's go ahead and make sure we have resources for that. So it's kind of weird how content and opportunity like that with our members has sort of been flipped on its head. And yeah, you know, what do libraries look like? Who knows? But what do associations look like? I think we have a really great opportunity to sort of step in and kind of just let go of the handcuffs that we think we need to do things a certain way.
Wow, that's fantastic. Thanks.
Yeah, I love that.
That is good.
I love the listening, just letting them talk and listen to what they say.
And we keep, you know, Mike, we keep trying to say, guys, are you busy? Do you not want this? Our folks are independent school technology, like CIOs at private schools. They're a little busy right now. And so we keep saying, do you not want this? And they're like, no, we want it. So we just keep hosting them and people keep coming. They want to solve problems together as a community.
And that makes you
really good.
Stronger.
And you're facilitating that community and you know, Mike preaches all the time. We all know this because we're all in associations, is that emotional bond is what ties us to the membership. I buy it because you're helping me, because I meet people that help mentor me. It's all that emotional connection. And if you don't have that, if you can't facilitate that, I'm not going to renew. You know, it's that email is going to come and I'll be like, I didn't get anything from it. But if I'm like, oh, I have to go because I need that because I have to stay connected, or they're helping me in this other instance. And I think what you're doing there is facilitating that emotional connection.
I do think it's important to layer on top of that listening, though, a little bit of optimism about the future of your profession, whether it's trends from the Bureau of Labor Statistics or something that it doesn't have to be advocacy, but something that makes people feel like there's a way out of this, and when we get out of it, we'll be stronger. I think that would go a long way towards helping people feel like we're in this together.
I really wish we had someone from the National Restaurant Association on here.
Yeah,
or like, you know, like, because that's just an industry that I know has been hit really hard, you know, the service industry.
But you want to know one of the good things about this, Nicole and Christina and Mike, is that I'm finding that one of the things that's actually happened is that you have a lot of association that has their, how can I put it? They have their senior members, you know, members have just been with the association for a long time and leadership. But with this pandemic and with you opening channels, like Christina said, you know, you're doing 2 things. One, the pandemic is bringing those that probably would never have thought to become a member. The younger leadership, future leadership, is now saying, okay, I need help. And that's making them now turn to the association community. And Christina opening up that channel, not only do they get to just come in, but now their voices are being heard immediately. Because something that's affecting everybody. And so you get that young membership to come in, getting their voices heard, and then they're also learning from the experience from all of the seniors. And so now you're starting a new trend so that as people are retiring out, you are now filling that void to come in as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there'll be business model changes as a result of that. Like maybe in the future, as a result of this, you may rely less on events in the future, 5 years from now, no matter what happens. And that might be a good thing.
True.
Okay. Scott, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I was just going to add that, you know, really tagging on what Vernon's saying with the younger members too, this is a perfect opportunity to work on setting up relationships between those more established and the newer folks. Like for instance, in IDSA Foundation, we do a mentor-mentee program. So to me, it's going to be a perfect opportunity to find, you know, more people who want to be mentors and more people who need to be mentees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a huge thing. And I think there's a lot of organizations that are trying to get that younger audience. I think everybody's trying to get that engagement and to get them in early as they can.
Yeah.
So guys, we are right at 8:59, which seems unbelievable. The first half an hour of ASAE annual for me has flown. I will say, if you have additional questions, our team is here. We do have a booth in the technology and business services area. You can sign up for a consultation at mightycitizen.com/consultations. We can keep the conversation going. I really wish we had been able to get to the question about, we had staged a question, honestly, but I think it's very valid of, you know, now that we've discounted all of our programs, you know, we've given away 3 free months of membership, we've done this, we've given free webinars, all of this, how do we get it back to being a paid model? Like that's something I would love to tackle at some point in time. But we also have, you can see Rachel and I on a session today. What time is that session? 10:45.
10:45, yeah.
Yep, it's called Building Your 2021 Communications Plan. And of course, all of the sessions are going to be available on demand afterwards if you miss it. We are also hosting a session tomorrow at 4:30 Eastern Time, and that's called 2 Truths and a Lie, and that's all about websites. And it really gives you some actionable steps on what to do with your website to improve results. Let's see, we talked about the free consultations and our booth, and we are available to you anytime, so always reach out to us. I'm so glad that you were able to join us, and I'm happy to see a lot of faces that I know and some that I don't. I hope that we get to know each other better.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you so much, guys, and thank you, Mighty Citizen team, for getting up early.
Yeah. See y'all around these.
It was great. Thanks.
Bye.